Welcome to the channel, Jaden Chase. Now finally, law enforcement has captured Rushane Patterson, who was wanted for the killing of Anika Slickianna Townsend. Now it has been reported by police that he was arrested in a guest house in Hanover shortly after 1 a.m. on Wednesday. All the lies and rumors spread by Rushane on social media has failed, and law enforcement has located the individual. Now, I couldn't hear from law enforcement, and they will continue the reason. Of course, we want to look and listen.
We have nothing to indicate that he has left the country. I'll turn you over to Mr. Bailey if he has any updates.
The matter is actively being pursued. We are at a very delicate position at this time, but what I will say to the public, that we are actively pursuing the matter. In fact, I can say this publicly, that an attorney reached out to me and indicated that he will take him in on Thursday of this week.
Now clearly, based on the actions of Rushane, he is indeed a guilty individual. Not only did Rushane try to trick law enforcement into believing that he was overseas, hoping that if they had believed he had fled the island, they would have just stopped looking for him, which is not wise, because law enforcement locally has a long-standing relationship with North American authorities. After checks were made by law enforcement on the airport's CCTV cameras, and he was not seen leaving the island, frequent checks started to be made at his family's homes, individuals who he knows. Rushane then realized that just having law enforcement believe he was off the island was not working. He then proceeded to try to present alternative theories over social media, stating that Slickianna was to meet up with another individual, that while at the restaurant rather, she was being frequently called by another individual. But it's a mistake we make. When asked if he knew who the individual was, he decided to say yes, trying to present an ulterior or an alternative to the theory being presented by law enforcement. He also then stated that he did not know her that long. So I know so much about her personal life. Him basically tried to put her in a love triangle, saying that she was involved with an individual who was involved with another female. They all should just know him and tell him all of them things about her personal life. If him has somebody we should not know that well, why after being stranded, him would have been the first person we should call, warm to her other friends and family. Clearly the story was all fictional and was being used as a smoke and mirror so that law enforcement would stop following up the leads. But Deputy Commissioner stated that despite all of the antics, the tactics being used by Rushane over the media, law enforcement was indeed still actively pursuing the case. And all him feel like say, him a win. And the police feel like him there in Atlanta, Georgia. Law enforcement was aware that he was still in the parish of Hanover. I must see the people in the comment section who did always know say in the Depan Island. Because even when the theory started to circulate, say him fly out, we see numerous people in the comment section point out say no, we don't believe him leave the island. His story was that him leave the island because of threats. People started to point out who would be sending those if when law enforcement put out his identity seeking help from the public, him claims that him did already leave the island. So who was sending those threats? Another false narrative. There was never any threats because nobody know who him is. We have also talked about the forensics. People have stated that it is alleged that fingernails were found in his vehicle. Now the vehicle owned by Patterson and seized by law enforcement, they were female fingernails, extensions, or false nails, whatever you want to call them, in him car. Some point to the fact that this clearly a point to some kind of struggle taking place in the vehicle. And him did know that. And that is why when him fled or left him house, him never carry him car. Because based on the report, law enforcement was have stated that the car was at his residence. And to it look now, it wouldn't be surprising for you to say him run from the house when law enforcement show up. Talk to me, tell me how you feel about the text messages I'm not talking about. Some people have stated that clearly him not send the message them to himself. Him are the one way have the two phone them. Trying to make it seem as if Slickianna involved in some kind of love triangle. Basically, law enforcement has said the evidence now pointed at. What the evidence are pointed is that this individual was the last person to see her alive. Inside of his vehicle was evidence of a struggle taking place. After being named by law enforcement and asked to turn himself in for questioning, this individual pretended to have fled the island. Pretended in hopes, in hopes that law enforcement would have stopped looking for him. Even feel like them would have say, yo, it's out of them jurisdiction. Probably I watch a whole heap of foreign movie. Keep in mind, there are legal documents signed by the Jamaican government that states that if individuals are even locally committing crime overseas and authorities overseas can prove that and want to have an individual extradited to face charges overseas, the Jamaican government will not only allow but facilitate. It is also a two-way street. If any Jamaican flees the country and go overseas and feel like, say, alright, show them they're in a different country, if overseas law enforcement capture them at the same situation. It might take a bit longer because North America is a big country. We will see that swifter in the Caribbean countries, like when we see the situation take place in a Spanish town and individuals had fled to Cayman. And it wasn't that long before all the individuals were captured. Because Caribbean countries are a bit smaller. Not a bit, let us say smaller than these first world countries. Majority of them. Apart from it was a long run and a short catch. If you big up law enforcement for staying on his heels and for not being misled by the information. Keep in mind, the deputy commissioner stated that an attorney reached out to him. An attorney who is said to be representing Rushane. That means some of the information him try to present on social media, more than likely they tell the attorney. For the attorney or attorneys tell law enforcement. Law enforcement, however, was adamant that Rushane have to turn himself in. And when them start to say I'm going to turn himself on that date, and I'm going to turn himself on that date, law enforcement never just wait for him to turn himself in. Law enforcement that search for him. And them say them finally close in upon him at that guest house in Anova. Some have stated that maybe the family, being tired of the whole fiasco, just decide to give him up. It was already rumored that Rushane is from an affluent Jamaican family who is well respected in his parish of origin. Or either Kyle, one of them high society type of family. So just this whole disgrace would want to take place over the media, the fact that he's now basically a fugitive for the death of a popular social media influencer. Maybe them just decide that enough was enough. Maybe them already try to talk to him and say, what you know, go on in, go in on this date. In the state that he never turned himself a week ago. And I think it was a next Thursday him saying that do it too. Now he must say I'm going to do it again. And next Thursday, law enforcement was not having it. And based on a report by police, he did already retain legal counsel. So him lawyer for us, all him lawyer for us show up. Now I mean him not for say him go seek an attorney. He may already have an attorney representing. And one from the family of Anika Slickianna Townsend can have unanswered questions answered. Why him do this? There's no justification for taking a life. And the senseless crime and violence that we see take place on the island. We need it to stop. The people need to realize that enough is enough. We are talking about a better Jamaica. People are working towards a better Jamaica, a better future for the youth. And you still have individuals who still commit senseless crime and violence. No, the people are fed up. We are law enforcement that say the amount of tips being called into law enforcement about wanted individuals have increased. The people are tired of the whole heap of wanted man in them community and make them community unsafe. The people them can't even become entrepreneurs. Them can't open them shop off a lock early. Them can't keep no events, no little bingo party, no little round robin. Nothing can keep for the community elevate because of the crime and violence where take place in these communities, and the people them fed up. Talk to me in the comment section. Drop a like on the video, bust a share on the video. You know something go. Until the reason again, live, love, and prosper. And of course, stay tuned.